Good afternoon and welcome back to Girded with Truth. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon as we continue our series, The Trauma of Better. A lot of times when we go through trauma, it is difficult to actually move beyond that trauma. But most of the time, because we have been hurt so much or disappointed so much or rejected so much, it's hard for us to not just realize but accept better when it comes. And one of the hard things that we struggle with is receiving. And today we want to talk about I receive my promise. Because whatever the promise is that God has given to us, we have to not just be open to it, but we have to receive it. So beyond getting past the trauma of better is the actual receiving of the promise that God has given to us. Genesis chapter 16 verses 1 to 6 says, Now Sarai, Abraham's wife, bare him no children, and she had an handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. And Sarai said unto Abraham, Behold now, the Lord hath restrained me from bearing. I pray thee, go in unto my maid, it may be that I may obtain children by her. And Abram hearkened to the voice of Sarai. And Sarai, Abraham's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband, Abram, to be his wife. And he went in unto Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. And Sarai said unto Abram, My wrong be upon thee. I have given my maid into thy bosom. And when she saw that she had conceived, I was despised in her eyes. The Lord judge between me and thee. But Abram said unto Sarai, Behold, thy maid is in thy hand, do to her as it pleaseth thee. And when Sarai dealt hardly with her, she fled from her face. So, when we get into moving beyond the trauma of better, or as a matter of fact, we don't deal with the trauma, when it comes to the promise that God has given to us, we try to deliver the promise ourselves. So God would have told us He has certain promises for us. But because we are so accustomed getting hurt and getting disappointed, we decide that we would work at these promises for ourselves. But God told Abraham and Sarai that they would bear a son. And for some reason they thought that God needed their help. Now, partnering with God is different from helping God. If God gives you a promise, He has the ability to fulfill this promise. There are certain aspects that you have to partner with Him in, but He does not need your help. He needs your participation, and there's a difference. But sometimes when we have been hurt, when we have not fully overcome the trauma that we used to deal with, we bring that same trauma into the better life God is giving to us, and we do not properly receive the promise. And there are certain consequences that we have to deal with when we try to help God. God did not tell Abram that he would receive a child through any maid. He told Abram that he would bear a son. Now, if Abram and Sarai are the married couple that God has ordained, then why would God deliver a child through someone else? The promise would have been for both of them. But because the time was taking too long, they decided that they would assist God, as it were. But God did not ask for their help. And let me tell you something, God does not want your help. All He requires is your partnership, is your participation in not just believing the promise, but receiving it. He gives you the promise, He's going to give you the instruction, and He is going to fulfill the promise over your life. There are certain parts you have to do, but God will give you the instruction. And now Sarai and Abraham had this plan and they did this plan, and now Sarai is upset because her maid despises her. But this is a consequence of the action that she decided to go with. She decided on what method that this thing would come forth from, and when there's a consequence, she is upset. But you cannot be upset when you take things into your own hands and then they do not work out the way God planned them. You are at the point of breakthrough. You are at the point of your promise. You are at the point where better is available, and all you have to do is receive promise. You have your role and responsibility, and God has his role and responsibility, because it's a partnership. Now you cannot have this relationship with God. God speaks to you about what he is going to do, and you decide to take it into your own hands and fulfill the thing. That is not how it works. God tells you the plan because you are a friend of him, and he's sharing this intimate detail with you. But you have to wait on the timing of God. You have to know what God said and the instruction he gives, and you have to walk it out. But you cannot do what your part is and want to do God's part also, because God shares his glory with no man. He continues to be our guide. He continues to lead us, and he continues to carry us in the right direction. Genesis chapter 17 verses 15 to 21 says, "And God said unto Abraham, As for Sarai thy wife, thou shalt not call her name Sarai, but Sarah shall her name be. And I will bless her, and give thee a son also of her. Yea, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of people shall be of her. Then Abraham fell upon his face, and laughed, and said in his heart, Shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old? And shall Sarah that is 90 years old bear? And Abraham said unto God, O that Ishmael might live before thee. And God said, Sarah thy wife shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac. And I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and his seed after him. And as for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him, and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he begat, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant will I establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto thee at this set time in the next year." So God didn't leave room for error this time. He decided he's going to speak to them clearly. Sarah is going to be a mother of many nations, but she will be a child herself. Stop trying to help me and just allow me to give you the promise. Just receive the promise that I have spoken to you from the inception. So here Abraham is struggling to receive the promise because his faith is being tested and his capacity is being increased, because God is having Abraham and Sarah and later on Isaac on a journey of faith, and we are all on that journey of faith. But we have to get past the trauma of better, the things that fell apart, the things that we were disappointed in, the things that didn't come to pass, the things that took too long. It was not for us. It just wasn't time as yet. But God is saying now, if you would get past the trauma of better, then you would be able to receive the promise. He does not need your help. He needs your partnership. He needs your alignment with his will, and he needs your faith. But he does not need you to help him. And within the scriptures, there are so many accounts of people who would have tried to help God, but God does not require your help. 2 Samuel chapter 6 verses 3 to 7 says, "And they set the ark of God upon a new cart, and brought it out of the house of Abinadab that was in Gibeah. And Uzzah and Ahio, the sons of Abinadab, drave the new cart. And they brought it out of the house of Abinadab, which was at Gibeah, accompanying the ark of God. And Ahio went before the ark. And David and all the house of Israel played before the Lord on all manner of instruments made of fir wood, even on harps and on psalteries and on timbrels and on cornets and on cymbals. And when they came to Nachon's threshing floor, Uzzah put forth his hand to the ark of God and took hold of it, for the oxen shook it. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Uzzah, and God smote him there for his error, and there he died by the ark of the Lord. So they decided firstly to put this ark on a new cart. Did God give an instruction to put it on a new cart? No. This walk is about obedience and faith. They decided to first take matters into their own hands because they want the ark and put it on this new cart. God did not give that instruction for them to put it on a new cart. So that's their first mistake. But secondly, the oxen shook the cart and it was about to fall. And in Uzzah's mind, he did not do anything wrong. And in our mind, sometimes we are not doing anything wrong because we are just simply getting up and get it. We are simply being diligent. After all, we can't just sit down and wait for this thing to happen by guess. No, we have to take our destiny into our own hands and begin to work at it. And yes, all of that is true. But if we are walking in alignment with God, there is no us accomplishing this thing. God is partnering with us. So it's a partnership between us and God, and that is how it's going to be fulfilled. God clearly gave an instruction within the Old Testament that no one is to touch the ark because it's holy. And Uzzah thinks that he can help God because it looks like something bad is going to happen. If you see something falling, you will naturally try to catch it. So Uzzah wasn't really doing anything wrong. But yes, he was. He was in direct disobedience to the word of God. And God did not want any help. Instead, he wanted the partnership. He wanted you to partner with him. He wanted Uzzah to partner with him to bring the ark back. Not on this new cart, but to inquire of him and then bring it back to Jerusalem. But here, they are using their new practices, even though God would have given specific instructions where this ark is considered. And Uzzah paid with his life. And so too, if we are not careful, the consequences can outweigh the blessings, because we do not need to dwell in the trauma. We need to get past the trauma of better and just receive the promise of God. God doesn't need our help. He doesn't want our help. He wants our obedience, our sacrifice, our faith, and our partnership with him. If he has given us the instruction, if he has spoken to us, if he has trusted us with this vision to be accomplished, then it is our responsibility to trust him also, to have faith in him, to know that he's going to bring this thing to pass. So all we have to do is have a little patience, have a lot of faith, and receive our promise. So today I'm telling you, don't be anxious, don't be worried, don't study what is taking place out there and what people are saying. Instead, get past the trauma of better and really receive the promise of God. Mistakes happen, yes, but at any point in time, you can get back on course. You can get past the trauma of better. You can lay down all the hurts, all the disappointments, all the rejection, and just receive the promise that God has for you. Because God is not like man, that he would lie or he would have to repent from anything. But he said it and he will do it. He will bring it to pass. And all we have to do is stand in faith, stand with patience, stand with diligence and an open ear to hear what the Spirit of the Lord is saying to us, and partner with him in obedience and faith. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful afternoon. Bye.